Hi friends, this is Deborah. Thank you so much for joining me and welcome to a quick pop-up video where I'll be showing you all how I made over some of my garden pots into beautiful garden art for just pennies, and it's easy to do, so I know you can do it too. We all know how expensive nice quality and beautiful pots and urns can be. I absolutely love French pottery and urns that have been aged by years of use in the garden, but I surely don't love the prices sometimes. So I decided, why not create my own beautiful custom pots with ones that I already have, thrift store finds, or even family and friends cast-offs. Here are some quick Pinterest photos of urns and pots that are beautifully detailed and I'm sure quite costly. I love the patina and finishes on them, but you want to see some of the pots I've been working on? Come on, let's take a look. This particular pot was a cast off from my sweet brother Mark, and I was so happy to get it to plant my Eugenia topiary in it. But I wanted it to have a more French country flair, so I got out my old Red Rooster stencil, some paints, and concrete patch, and I got busy. When I stenciled the concrete patch on the pot, I used only the concrete patch without mixing any paint into it, because I just wanted the stenciled area to have a slight wash of green paint to mimic moss lightly growing on it, which I added after the concrete patch dried. All I did was dab a bit of the forest moss green paint around the stenciled area and then misted it with water so that the green paint would feather out and create slight drip marks. Fast and easy. Next up is this large terracotta pot that I thrifted for $4. I used two separate stencils to get this design with the Paris apartment number 5 and B that I wanted on it. This time I mixed a bit of paint into the concrete patch and stenciled the design on. After it dried, I wanted to add a bit of faux moss, so I used concrete patch mixed with the forest moss green paint and dabbed that on. And then I wanted a little bit of faux dirt on the pot as well, using concrete patch mixed with brown paint. After they were applied, I then misted them with a water bottle to create feathering and drip marks. And sorry guys, I forgot to mention that before I stenciled the design on this pot, I whitewashed the pot with some white paint to give it a well-seasoned look. Next, this pot was also a cast off from my sweet brother Mark. I love it because it's Italian terracotta and black. So all I did was mix a little burnt umber paint with the concrete patch and stenciled the fleur-de-lis design on it. And after it dried, I sealed the fleur-de-lis area with 2 coats of polyacrylic. Okay guys, so I have 2 of these humongous fiberglass urns in my garden and wanted to give them a little French touch, so I added the same fleur-de-lis stencil to it. First, I just stenciled on the concrete patch and let it dry because I wasn't sure what color I wanted to add to the fleur-de-lis, but then I decided to add watered down burnt umber paint and dabbed it over the design and let it dry. After that, I sealed it with polyacrylic. It just created a subtle design on these huge urns, and I really like that look. Next up, we're doing something a little different to these 2 fiberglass urns that were garage sale finds several years ago at just $5 each. I purchased 2 of these antique replica resin appliques that you're seeing on the right urn and glued them on with construction adhesive and let them dry overnight. I forgot to take photos of the appliques before placing them on the urns, so sorry about that, but you'll get a better look at them in just a moment. After the appliques dried and set up, I decided that I wanted my urns to have a rusty and mossy patinaed finish, so I started dabbing paint on here and there and misting them with the water bottle as I went along so the paint would feather and run. So after the paint dried, I wanted to tone down the rust and the moss just a bit, so I mixed up some antiquing wax and water and lightly applied it all over, and it worked perfectly. I just dabbed off the excess and that was it. The finish on the urns goes perfectly with the white, rusty, chippy iron tutors that I have on the urns, and I love that. So now here's how the appliques look up close. Aren't they beautiful? Also, I have not yet sealed these urns with polyacrylic, but I will as soon as we get a break in this heat that we're having here in Texas. Okay guys, here's a look at the products I use on my pots and urns for this kind of application. They all go a long way, so you can do so many projects with them. And instead of brush on polyacrylic, you could use the spray on kind, but I like brushing it on because I have better control over where it goes and how much. And you could also use joint compound instead of the concrete patch if you so desired. I just prefer the concrete patch. I also wanted to mention that the Mr. water bottle is a must for this application, not a regular spray bottle, but rather one that's made specifically for misting water on paint. And last but not least, here's a look at my well-used old stencils that I used on these projects. You can find them basically on Amazon, Etsy, Hobby Lobby, and places like that. Just be sure to choose a stencil that has good open areas so that your concrete patch can get in there and leave the design. If you use stencils that have tiny openings and designs, it doesn't work very well. And you know, my friends, I hope you'll try this if it's something you'd like to do. It's so easy and rewarding, and you just might rethink discarding those old black nursery pots lying around in your yard. This technique will take your pots from drab to fab, and you'll love them, I promise. Alright, sweet friends, that's going to do it for today's pop-up video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you all have any questions, just leave me a comment and I'll get back to you right away. Be sure to check out my new video coming up, Decorate With Me, on Monday. I think you're going to enjoy it if you love bee decor. Thanks so much for joining me, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye, lovelies.